Hi, Brenda. Welcome to Imperfectly Vibrant's podcast. Oh my goodness. I am so excited and just honored that you're here with us. You are a plethora of knowledge. You have so much education, and I'm just so thankful and just so excited that you agreed and decided to be with us. So, yeah, how are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm so, let me tell you, humbled, honored, and blessed to be here. When you reached out to me, I was like, what? Expertise? What? Oh, wait. Yeah, you're right. I do. I can contribute. So I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me here. And I hope what we talk about today is helpful. And I hope what we talk about today is useful to whoever tunes in. So thank you for having me. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I didn't share in the introduction that I gave about you is that we actually went to high school together.
Yeah,
So
girl.
I have the honor of knowing this brilliant woman for over a decade. And I mean, ever since I met you when we were kids, like you have such a vibrant energy to you, and you're just such a caring person. And I've always admired that about you. So I am just like so excited that we reconnected, and the fact that we're both kind of in similar spaces with the self-help industry. Of course, you've taken on a totally, like, you've made this your whole life mission to study psychology, and I want to give you the opportunity to share a little bit more about your story and like tell us what you've been through, because Imperfectly Vibrant, it's all about sisterhood. It's all about like connecting with other women and understanding that we all come from like imperfect backgrounds. We all have shit that we've been through, and
Don't say that.
and yeah, so I just want to share with my audience that you're an imperfect woman yourself. You
100%.
yeah, and look at you though. You've gone so far in your life, and you've done so much with yourself, and the way that you're serving others is just incredible for me to witness. So thank you for sharing space with me in this world, and for just sharing this opportunity with me and our listeners today. It's just wonderful. So thanks again, Brenda. And would you be so kind to share with us a little bit about you? And
Girl, you just blew up my head and I can't even thank you. Because a lot of what you feel about me, it's reciprocal. It's reciprocated. You know what I mean? When we met in Dreamgirls back in 10th, 11th grade, and you were the drummer and I was the manager, like there was an instant connection. So I too am so happy we reconnected, and I'm so thankful for what you do, because yes, although I've studied and dedicated my whole life to psychology, I also did life coaching. I also started my own life coaching business, so I understand the importance of it. You know what I mean? So what you're doing, not only is it scientifically backed up to be effective, but it's needed. It's needed within all of our communities, particularly among women. You know what I mean? And the fact that it's a sisterhood, I'm so happy. So you're talking about, do I come from a perfect background? Girl, absolutely not. You know what I mean? Absolutely not. I come from a family where my parents migrated to the US. They come from third world countries. They come from basically having nothing. And so the traumas that they've experienced, the things that they've gone through in their life ultimately impacted them and how they parented, right? So that impacts me. So we are, I'm going to say this, a sum total of our life experiences. So that means everything that we've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, the malicious, it's all a total of who we are. It impacts the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we behave, all of these things. So that's a super important thing. Like my childhood and all the morals and values that were instilled in me, even though I come from a dysfunctional background, you know what I mean? It stood and it stuck. And that's why I'm able to have gone through all kinds of crap in my life and still be where I'm at now. And I think life coaching has a lot, it's really connected because it's goals, right? Ultimately, here was my goal. I wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to become a psychologist. I wanted to be able to give people tools that they would be able to use to help themselves. So it's kind of an interesting like story if I can get into it. Like,
Please, please.
yeah, in high school, I don't know if you remember this, but everybody was sitting there taking their SATs, ACTs, all these things, and I was like, forget that. Like, I'm not going to college. I'm gonna go to Vegas and I'm gonna be a stripper.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. That was what I was ultimately going to do. And I had told my mom at like 17, don't even, like, I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to be balling. I'm going to make money. I'm going to be a stripper, right? My morals wouldn't allow me to do that. And like, I wasn't, that's something I couldn't do for myself. Did I try it? Maybe, you know what I mean? But like, it's something that wasn't for me. So here I was, 18 years old, working a full-time job, doing my boss's job, and he's getting paid $75K and I'm getting paid like 15 an hour, you know what I mean? So that's when I decided school is the way to go. My parents, although they didn't come from much, education was one of the things that they always stressed, the importance of education. And so I went back to school. And initially, one of the things was I wanted to be a sexologist. I wanted to study sexual dysfunctions and the relationship between people, like interpersonal relationships. I wanted to know why people, couldn't have an orgasm, things of that nature. And so what happened was I did my research backwards. I said, this is the end point. This is where I want to be. What is it that I need to do to get there? So I worked my way back. You got to have a marriage and family therapy credential. You got to have psychology credentials. And that's just the route that I went. And so eventually it did change, you know what I mean? But that's still a passion of mine. And so, things aren't always what they seem. You have these goals in life, you have these ideas of what things are going to be, and it ends up being something completely different as a result of what I've been through. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the fact that my parents totally stressed education, because here I am 14 years into this bad boy, right? And I'm going to be a doctor within the next year, God willing. So, dedication for sure. It's something that you don't give up on your goals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did I answer the question? Was that my long-winded way of answering the question?
No, yeah. I mean, that's so, like, thank you for sharing with us so vulnerably, because it's not always easy to share like some of those deepest, darkest things that we've been through, or just kind of how our journey developed itself. And I love how you said that sometimes we think our life is gonna turn out a certain way, or we think we have these desires, and then it ends up taking like a steep turn left, and then a detour over here to the right, and then we run into some bushes, and then
Girl, everything. And you start back over from scratch, you know what I mean? And go a different route. Like, it happens. What's supposed to be like an 8-year journey has been a 14, 15-year journey for me. And you know what I've learned is you got to enjoy life along the way. Like, I was so focused on becoming a psychologist by the age of 30. Well, guess what? Here I am, 35, and I'm not yet. And that's okay.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. We have to learn because I feel like we're always, every single person, right? We're always going to be our worst critic, our own worst critic.
100%.
We're always gonna decide that we're not worthy, or that there's something wrong with us. And really, as you know, right, it comes from our past conditioning of how we were told, or what the things we learned from the world and from other people's limitations around us. But the thing is that it isn't true. Like, you are good enough because you're innately capable. And as long as, and I know, like, I'm going to give you the opportunity to teach us about this today. Or like, I'm going to ask you to please teach us about this, because I know how important it is. And as we were discussing earlier, before we got on the call, I know how important it is for people to be able to challenge those limiting beliefs, right? Those unhelpful thoughts, or whatever term we want to use, right? Because if we don't, then that's when we end up holding ourselves back. And that's when we end up not self-actualizing and not going after our dreams, not actually doing everything that we're meant to do here on earth. And it's like you said, no matter how long it takes us, the key is to always be moving forward, right?
Yes,
to always be Yeah.
That's honestly just one of my sayings. Like, if you're not growing, if you're not progressing, you're stagnant. And stagnation is not a place that you want to be. Is stagnation a place that you need to be sometimes? Yes, it is. You know, sometimes we need to sit still and be in a spot. However, we need to progress. That's a constant place that we should want to strive to be, is in a place of progression, growth, learning, advancing. You know what I mean? That is life. That's the beauty of life. Um, so yeah, that, sorry, did you have a specific question? I'm all chiming in like, yeah,
No,
man, girl, you're speaking it, speak the truth.
the truth, girlfriend. Tell us the truth. Tell us how it is.
No?
No, yeah, and I feel like a common theme that I see with my clients is that they do have, and me as well, right? Because I know that my audience has heard a little bit about my story, and they understand that I also come from like holding myself back my whole life and accepting situations that were less than what I wanted, right? Whether it was relationships or jobs or things, just situations in my life where I wasn't being treated properly, and I allowed it. Like I stayed too long, longer than I needed to, right? And I know that that's a common theme amongst my clients as well, is that they have this situation where we are the ones holding ourselves back. And so
Self-sabotage.
self-sabotage,
That's
absolutely.
called self-sabotage. Yes, ma'am.
So
Mm-hmm.
can you speak on that and tell us a little bit about, like, how do we overcome that? From your expertise, what is the path? What does the path look like, or any tips that you want to share with us
For
to help?
sure. It again, and so the difference between life coaching and therapy is, therapy, we go back, like we go into that childhood stuff. Life coaching, not so much. We're more focused on the future, right? But in therapy, from a therapeutic perspective, right, we have these things that are called schemas. That's how we classify the world, the way we see it, the way that we know that the sky is blue. We put that in a category in our brain, whatever is blue, sky, water, blah blah blah. So think of your brain as like a filing cabinet, right? And so you experience something, you file it away as positive. You file it away as negative. You file it away as, that did not make me feel good, right? So now you have a whole folder of things that don't make you feel good, because unfortunately, we don't live in a positive based society. Everything around us is negative, right? You know, so we're stuck in situations at work where, okay, the deadline approached and where's this report? Where's the praise? Hey, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Where's the positivity? It's all negative, right? So we form our beliefs, our values based off of what we've been through, the experiences. So check this out. If you had a third grade teacher that told you you were dumb, you were stupid, you're never going to amount to nothing, you know what I mean? And your home life isn't the best, what are you going to grow up to believe? That you're stupid, you're dumb, you're not the best. And now it's no longer this teacher telling you, it's you repeating it to yourself over and over and over, right? So these schemas cause these negative thoughts that happen automatically, right? So we are not even in tune that it's happening so frequently, because we have millions of automatic negative thoughts a day. And so because our society is so negative based, it's normal, right? It's normal to think, oh crap, I didn't get that done, I'm lazy, I'm whatever, to be down on yourself. You said it yourself, we are our own worst critic, right? But now we have the sounds from our childhood chiming in. Now we have the sounds from other people, from our bosses, from our significant others, from our kids even, you know what I mean, chiming in. And what you start to repeat, your mind is going to believe. So if you believe over and over and over, I'm dumb, I'm not capable, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be dumb and you're not going to be capable. What are you repeating to yourself? What thoughts are you repeating to yourself? Are you checking these thoughts? You know what I mean? Because a lot of the world tells us who we are, but who do you say that you are? Do you know who you are? Are you in tune with what you are, where you've come from, what you want to do? Do you know who you are? Or are you letting the world tell you who you are and what you need to be? So that, I think a lot of it has to do also with self-worth and self-value. You need to know what you're worth. Girl, you were worth $1 million at your job and you were miserable, right? Like, quality of life at home sucked. It was something that you just did not want to do. And granted, there was an overall situation at that time for you, but you left and you saw your worth and you saw that you were worth that fight, because you are worth that fight. We all have something that we're worth fighting for, despite what the world tells you. I don't care if you're I don't care. You have something within you. You have a purpose. You have a reason for being here. You have something beautiful, unique about you that nobody else has. And once you can identify that, once you can put your finger on it just a little bit, the things that you can start to realize and bring into conceptualization. So I think a lot of it has to do with how do we view ourselves? How do we value ourselves? The world might value us right here, and we value ourselves right here because we are our own worst critic. Well, guess what? You got to hype yourself up, baby, because you got to make it bigger. You know what I mean? You got to be able to take an honest look at yourself. Take an honest look at yourself and what you've been through, and not lie to yourself. Like, who's going to benefit from that? Anybody? No, because ultimately you want to do the work within. You want to correct the negative experiences, the maladaptive things that have happened to you so that you change the way that you think, the way that you behave, the way that you do things in life. If somebody told you throughout your whole life, you're lazy, you're lazy, you're lazy, I have to start challenging that and saying, I'm not lazy. I'm capable. I'm a hard worker. I have a strong work ethic. You know what I mean? These are things that need to come from within because the whole world will tell you who you are. But do you know who you are? You know?
Yes. Yes, babe. Oh my gosh. You just brought the bread home, girlfriend. Oh my goodness. Everything that you just said is absolutely so valuable, I think, for someone to hear. Somebody who's like constantly with those automatic negative thoughts every day on the daily, as soon as they wake up. That's literally what their mind goes to is I'm whatever, right? I don't even like to repeat those things because I feel like it's affirmations that we're just telling ourselves.
100%, yes.
And sometimes when I say like these examples of like, I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, I go back, I remember to when I was telling myself these things every day, you know? And so I think for people to just hear that encouragement that you just gave of like, look at yourself and understand that you're worth so much more than whatever people told you were, you know?
A lot of this stuff is happening on an unconscious level. So there's 3 different levels of our brain, right? We're conscious right now. We are aware. I know that you're sitting there looking beautifully, you know, when we're talking and having this conversation. I know that the sun is outside. I'm conscious right now, right? Then there's the unconscious where it's like information that's needed. We're able to recall it. Like if I were to ask you what's 1 + 1 right now, you would tell me?
2.
Because it's in there, right? Was it at the forefront? Is that something part of our conversation that we need to know right now? No, but it's in there. It's in your unconscious brain. Then there's a subconscious. Girl, this is like the submarine, right? That's what you want to kind of think about it. This is a deep, dark, scary place where these experiences happen and they go and they hide and they don't come out. And you can't easily retrieve the information that's in there unless you go to hypnosis, hypnotherapy. So, you know what I mean? But then these things start to come out in life. They start to come out later in life. So you experience trauma in your childhood and you don't understand why now as an adult your relationships aren't working out, why you're having so much problems with money management or with your boss. Well, because of this trauma that you experienced from your childhood, it's starting to come out of your subconscious and into your unconscious and even your conscious mind. And so these are the things that if you're not aware of them, they're automatic. That means it happens, right? You don't need to think about it. You can see a poor dog and it triggers something in your mind. That's automatic. But then these automatic thoughts can lead to these faulty thinking. So it leads us to assume, hey, well, this is what it is because this has always been my experience. If every time I go to Starbucks and they're rude and condescending, guess what my experience is going to be? And guess what I'm going to chalk it up to be in my head? I'm going to file it as a negative experience, right? And not going to want to go back. So what are these things that you're repeating to yourself? What are these things, whether it's out loud or, inside your mind? Because we all have that internal dialogue. Right now we're talking out loud, but we have an internal dialogue. I'm thinking, oh crap, I got to work on dissertation later. After, don't forget to like mow the lawn, right? We have these things going internally, but externally it's not always visible, right? And so you need to be aware that these things are happening on an unconscious level. So you need to start becoming more aware to bring it to your conscious level, to an awareness level to where you can actually work on it and fix it. That's the first step in any type of problem is identifying what the issue is. And then you can work towards a game plan, a goal or something to fix it, rectify it, whatever you got to do. But the first step is going to be identifying it.
So that was actually my next question for you is, so you and I both know, right, that there is hope. And for somebody to be listening right now and hearing like, oh my God, I'm fucked. I'm like, you know, screwed up for life because I have all these unconscious traumas that are gonna come up in my reality now as an adult, and like, oh no, everything's gone to shit. But you and I both know that that isn't true, right? There's actual processes and steps that we can take. And you just mentioned step one, which was to become aware of it. That's step one.
Yeah.
And this is like literally step one out of a bunch of other steps, right? And so what would you tell us, if you could summarize like what those steps are, or if you could just give our listeners just some pinch of inspiration or hope that there is a solution and that there are steps that they can take. What would you tell us that those are?
There's always hope. There is always hope. One of my main purposes in life is to prevent suicide. And when a person, and I'm not saying that this specifically is for your clients, but when a person reaches a point where there is no hope, there's no hope. You know what I mean? But there is hope. There's always hope. There's always an opportunity for things to get better. You see, when we have no hope, we're looking at things very much with a tunnel view, right? We're not opening up our peripherals. We're not opening up our vision to see what else can be going on around us, what other solutions could be going on around us. A lot can happen, but when we have a tunnel view, we can only see what's in front of us. When we open up our view, we're able to see the peripherals around us, right? And so I'm going to speak to the no hopelessness first, because there's always hope, you know, and a lot of times we're living in a global pandemic right now. Do you know what that means? That means the entire world is impacted by this illness, and a lot of people are having a difficult time coping with it. A lot of people are having a hard time being at home isolated, and they feel like they are the only ones, and they're not. So when you get a sense of like, you know what, hey, I'm not the only person going through this, or when you see somebody that's gone through something that you've been through and you see them make it out to the other side, that is your source of hope and inspiration. You can see that, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, if I'm not the only person dealing with depression and anxiety, those are the two most common mental health issues in the world. You know what I mean? So when I can see myself in somebody else, or I can see my struggles in somebody else, or I can see a hope from somebody else's, you know, story, or, you know, a connection there, that's where hope comes from, because there is always hope. Always hope. For people, I've worked with clients who have had no family, no type of support, and support is a super important piece when you're trying to progress and get better and self-improve, right? And so people who have had no family, you know, and they've been able to surpass their mental illness. They've been able to go above and beyond and seek the help that they need, but it's support, right? So if you are ever feeling hopeless, reach out to somebody, please. I encourage you, because it can take just a 2-minute conversation for you to get a little bit of that hope back. So that was the first piece. The second piece was, what was it?
What are the steps? Like, can you summarize the steps that a person would need to take in order to get from where they are right now, like feeling all these automatic negative thoughts, and like you were saying, where we come from childhood and we have all these things that come up automatically, in order to shift that and create this new reality of like of seeing themselves in a different light, of seeing their worth, and actually going after the things that they desire in their life, and not allow those negative thinking patterns to hold them back anymore. What would those steps be?
I think definitely the first step is, and these are the clients that you have, are people that see something and want to make a change and want to make a difference. So we'll talk to that, because when you have an individual that doesn't even see any problem or doesn't even see any issue, that's a difficult case to work with, right? Because there's nothing wrong. So in therapy, we got the time to work through it, right? But for somebody that the first step is actualizing, like realizing like, hey, I'm not too satisfied with this. This is something I want to improve. I want to make better. I want to whatever. The first step is realization. You know what I mean? I can't work on setting goals for my career if I can acknowledge, you know, the fact that I haven't done any education to go towards that career. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in denial about it, or whatever the case may be. So the first step is just being brutally honest and recognizing recognizing that there's something that I can improve upon. There's something I want to fix. There's a problem here that I want to rectify. Then the next step is seeking support. Seeking support, right? Whether that is a close friend, a family member, a mentor, a trusted member of the community, somebody in your church, whoever that is, reach out. You know what I mean? Do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody in your life that can help guide you and help you navigate, right? And that's not an easy step. That is
No.
not an easy step. Let me tell
It's
you that the first step isn't even easy. Being able to be brutally honest and acknowledge that there is something wrong or there's something I want to fix is difficult. It's not an easy thing. So when a person gets to that place in life where they want to make a change, it's because either they're fed up or they're at the point where they're saying, I see the trajectory of this. I don't want to go that way. Let's fix it and modify it and go this way. And so like you're asking about the steps, but these first two are really hard. You know what I mean? The rest flows easily because now you have the support. Now you have the tools. Now you have the people there in place to help you. You know what I mean? One of the things I do in therapy, and I know you do too, is skill building. You know what I mean? Communication skills, all these different things, goal setting, SMART goals, all these things. You need to have a game plan, and you do eventually, right? But the first two steps are the hardest ones. And you're at like, those are the first two things, is being able to recognize like, man, there's something here. This is uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And that is hard because we have denial. We have all these different things. We have repression. We have defense mechanisms that make us push these things down. Remember I said we live in a negative society? Not a lot of people can handle where you're hurting. Not a lot of people can handle when you need help. Not a lot of people can handle when you reach out, but there are people, you know what I mean? And the fact that you're doing it is so courageous, so strong, you know. So those two things I would say are the first two steps, because after that, then we modify a game plan for you. We come up with what works for you. You know what I mean? But the first two steps is being able to acknowledge and seek support. And those are very difficult.
I love it.
Difficult.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I completely understand what you're saying, having come from like being in a person who went through those steps, having come from those things, and you as well, right? Like we really want you guys to understand that we are two very imperfect women sitting here right here, and we're not preaching at you. We're literally like
this has been our experience.
This has been our experience.
Yeah. I'm a very independent person, girl. And anyone could tell you, you know what I mean? I'm in my car, all these things. It's not easy for me to ask for help. I'm in the helping profession. I understand the weight that comes with, you know, people's problems. I don't want to put that on anybody. You know what I mean? I'm the healer. But what happens when the healer needs healing? You got to understand, like, we all have things. We all have a past. We all have a life. We all have these things in our life. And so I had to get to a point in my life, you know, where I learned it is okay to ask for help, because here I am struggling, trying to do this all on my own. And there's no need for that. I'm making life more complicated for myself than it needs to be. You know what I mean? But I'm also very, very blessed that I say the world's best support system. You know what I mean? Like, I have lifelong friends, hence you included, you know what I mean, that I've known more than half my life, people that genuinely know me. And as I progress through life, they've seen my growth and progression, and don't hold me to who I was, hold me to where I am now. So I can reach out and ask for help when I'm having a hard time. I have people I can go and cry on their shoulder. Will I do it very often? No, but I know that I have that, you know what I mean? But that's just one of my struggles and one of my things that I need to get over, because I'm a very independent person, right?
Yeah.
But that's support, man. You're part of my support system, Melissa. Like, and I appreciate you. You know what I mean? Because when there's things like, I'm going to need help with my podcast in a bit, and I'm going to reach out to you, even though I'm like, damn, she's doing her own thing. She has her clients. She's super busy. She's you know what I mean? You're all these things, but I know that there's a greater need. And I know that you're going to do it happily, willingly, and whatever, but still in my mind, I build up all these like, well, what ifs? And oh my gosh. And what, you know what I mean? Like these are based off of our experiences. You got to check it. You got to learn to check it. You got to learn to realize this is happening. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to ask for help, but it's necessary. You know what I mean? We were made to be social beings. We were made to be interconnected, and what you have I may be lacking, so I need some of that, and vice versa. You know what I mean? We could grow and learn from each other, and that's the beauty of it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I know one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give my clients in when they go through their mentoring program with me is that whenever you're feeling helpless or hopeless, find ways that you can give to others, right?
Amen.
Yeah, find like, because we all do it, right? And you just, here's a woman who just described, who's a fucking therapist and has gone through all her school, and she's fucking, you know, smart as hell and so amazing. And she just described where she has trouble reaching out for help, right? Like, you, a big conception of most common misconception is thinking that we're the only ones struggling, or we're the only ones going through things like this. And the truth is, you're not, right? You're not alone. We all struggle with reaching out. And I don't know where I was going with this, but the point is that that's like the first thing that I tell clients when they are having trouble reaching out to others to get help is like, okay, how can I get out of my head, and how can I be of service first?
Yeah.
If you're thinking right now that there's no one in your life, like Brenda just described, that she has a great support system and she has all these friends and all these things, you know, you have to think it may have not always been that way for her, and she actually had to make it a point, like literally run like she's on fire towards getting that support system. It didn't just come into her lap. The fact that I'm here sitting with her on this podcast, it didn't magically appear, right? Like, I had to take steps. I had to get a coach, a mentor, a business mentor who helped me understand that I'm worthy of sitting here talking to all you people right now.
Yeah.
Because just a year ago, and you're a witness to this, Brenda, just a year ago, Imperfectly Vibrant was like an abstract concept in my head, and it would have never actualized had I not sought mentorship and support for me to help build this and get this out into the world. And had I not done that, you guys would not be listening to this, and this may have never been the podcast episode that inspired you to make a change. You know, so it starts with us. It starts with each individual person. If you're listening, you are an individual. People need your help. People need your support. There's people out there who are probably lonely as fuck, and you are going to be the difference in their day, in their life. So yeah, if you're sitting around feeling lonely, helpless, hopeless, start to think, what are some ways that I can go be of service to someone else? What are some ways that I can go grab someone's groceries? Or like you were saying, during this pandemic right now, everybody's lonely, everybody's stuck at home, or everybody's scared, frightened about the situation. Can you hop on a free Google Hangouts and call someone over video, right? There's people who are sitting in their home by themselves as well. So I think that was like the point I was trying to make is like, we're all in this world together. We're a collective consciousness where all of our vibes and our energies affect each other. Yeah. So there's no need to be alone. There's absolutely no need for you to feel lonely, because there's literally probably one person, one house over next to you, who's feeling the exact same thing.
Become a pen pal with the senior citizens at the old folks home. You know what I mean? There's so much opportunity for connection, and that's needed. You know what I mean? That's needed. You talk about going to do something for somebody else. Attitude of gratitude is one of the natural depression killers. Like, it just is. When you can find something to be thankful for, positive, right, instead of complaining, which is negative, right, it changes your mind frame. It changes the neurochemistry in your brain. Like, when you're negative, it's a toxic environment. There are these neurotransmitters, you know what I mean, all these things. So when you do something positive, and it may not even be physically going out to do something, write it down. Have you written a letter of gratitude? Have you written a letter to somebody that you admired and thank them? You don't even need to send that bad boy. Burn it when you're done. You know what I mean? But get it out. It's something positive. Positivity begets positivity. So any kind of positive act that you do will definitely jumpstart within you. You know what I mean? The most depressed individuals can do something of gratitude, and it will boost their mood a little bit. You know what I mean? So Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Do something for somebody else. Do something. And I think that's part of it. So our brain is like a pleasure reward system. When you do something and it feels good, you want to do it more. You know what I mean? You want to repeat that. But when we're in such a negative space and it's been repeated over and over, we see doom. We don't know how to get out. So it's just that one little spark of hope to get me out of this place of gloom, to be able to start building upon that little spark of hope. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Attitude, gratitude.
I love it. I love it. There's so many nuggets of wisdom being said here. And if you're having, like, if you're feeling overwhelmed with all these concepts and all these things we're sharing, go back and re-listen to this episode and take it like in little pieces at a time. Because I know it can be really overwhelming when we're throwing like so much information at you. And, you know, when you're just starting on your personal like self-discovery journey and self-actualization, like, go back and take little pieces. Take what's for you, leave what's not for you. Take what speaks to your heart and what resonates with your soul, and then leave the rest, you know, and then just follow your own path, like follow your own journey. There's no need for anyone to tell you how to do it or what to do first, what to do next. We have our intuition, right? And you always have free will. You have the power of choice. And so just start to think of ways that you can start your journey now, whether that's to pick up a book or to talk to someone or to continue listening to podcasts like this. You know, whatever self-help tools speak to you, start there. Start little, start small, and don't get overwhelmed and just keep going.
It's just starting. You know what I mean? It really is just starting. And we psych ourselves out, man. We psych ourselves out. I just want to speak a little bit to it. Like, it may seem like I really got it all together. I'm telling you guys, no, like, and I'm going to self-disclose, and we don't typically do this in therapy because it's just a boundary thing, right? But it's important for you guys to know I'm smiling, I'm all these things. I've been through some crap. You know what I mean? Like, I had ADHD all throughout elementary school, high school. It went undiagnosed, untreated until I went to college. Like, I struggle with these things. It's hard for me, you know what I mean, to focus. But here I am about to complete a doctorate degree. Like, don't tell me it cannot be done. You know what I mean? Don't tell me that I'm a survivor of domestic violence. You know what I mean? I'm all of these things, and you will still see a smile on my face. You will still see me striving to achieve my goals because I'm not what I've been through. It's made me who I am. Don't get it twisted. I'm a very strong woman because of all of the shit that I have been through, right? But it's a part of my journey. And I say this, life is a beautiful struggle. It's a beautiful struggle because there's going to be moments of elation. There's going to be moments of excitation and happiness, but then there's going to be some deep, dark, lonely, sad, depressing, suicidal moments for some, you know what I mean? So life is just about rolling with the waves, you know what I mean? And I'm not perfect, but I definitely know what I want, and I'm not giving up on my goals. And one of the things that I've realized is that, you know, I would get sad when people would do stuff to me or take advantage of my kindness and all these things. And I just learned, you just got to get smarter about who gets this, who gets all of you, who gets the full genuine you. Are they worthy of it? Because guess what? You're worth that. You know what I mean? You are worth saying, hey, you don't get to be in my presence because you bring toxicity, or you don't get to be around me because this is what it triggers in me. This is your life. This is nobody else's life. You are the expert in you, and nobody can tell you how to live your life. We've been there. We've done that. That's what growing up is, right? But guess what? You become an adult, you live your life, you have your experiences. This is your life and nobody else's. It's up to you what the journey is going to look like. What do you want to work on? What do you not want to work on? Nobody can tell you otherwise. It's just not. Like, and the fact that we do, though, we allow so many people to influence us in our lives and what we do and what we want. And I get that. We have relationships. But bottom line is, going back to the beginning, do you know you? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you stand for? Do you know your moral values? All these things, like, that's what it boils down to. You got to be strong in that, because once you know who you are, nobody can tell you who you are. Nobody.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah, that's that's such a great place to sort of take this conversation to. And reminding our listeners that you have the power of choice. You can always choose whether you stay in a situation and whether you leave it. And it all starts with getting into that place of self-empowerment, right? And believing that there's more for you. A lot of the times we hold ourselves back because we believe there's not more available to us. But I hope that with our conversation here today, you have at least taken that there's hope for you, that there's more available to you, and all it really takes is a choice, a decision to start moving towards that. And also that you don't have to do it alone, right?
Yes.
There's guidance available, there's support systems. If you really want to learn how to discover who you are, like Brenda was just saying, who you are, what are your likes, what are your dislikes, what are your triggers, what is it that you actually desire to do in your life, right? If you really want to discover all those things, there's actual education that you can, and guidance, right, that you can enroll in and receive that guidance. And there's no need for you to stay stuck where you are. I hope that that's like the main thing that you take from this conversation today. And that's exactly the process that I take my clients through. That's what my programs are about, is really self-discovery and then self-actualization. So understanding who you are, what you want, what you don't want, and then taking the steps to get towards that, to start to believe in yourself more, and to start thinking more helpful thoughts as opposed to the unhelpful ones, and just adopting a lifestyle, because I take a holistic approach, which is our mind, body, and soul. So just adopting all of that into your lifestyle of wellness, and having positive relationships, having a positive relationship with your body, the way you see yourself, no longer having negative self-talk of like, I'm not pretty enough, or my body is this, my body is that. So even that affects us so much as women, right? Back, like, we won't go to the beach, we won't go to the park because we're so self-conscious about ourselves. So all of those are the things that I teach on, and that I help guide women on. If that resonates to you, then you can certainly continue listening to what I have to say. If what Brenda is sharing with you, I really want to encourage you to follow her on her social medias, and continue listening to what she has to say, because she has so much to offer as well. So there's just so much available out there for you guys. There's not just one path, one way to do it. We're all different, right? We all have different needs. We all have different backgrounds and stories. And so take what resonates with you, and just keep on that path. And so before I let you go, I think one question that I get a lot, like I hear in the community of women that I support, or just who I see in my experience, right, in my industry, there's this question of whether or not life coaching is effective, and if we're like just out for people's money. Like there's this misconception, right, that life coaches are just like these people who are pretending or to have their whole life together, and then they just want to take your money. Obviously, I have a very biased opinion on that, because I'm a life coach. So I can tell you that I'm an imperfect woman who doesn't have all her shit together. Just like Brenda was saying, I have also a diagnosis of PTSD, depression, and anxiety, but I manage it every day. And it's all been because I have created this lifestyle according to my values, my personal goals, and I'm always moving towards self-actualization, right? So what can you tell us about that as a therapist? What is your personal opinion about the life coaching industry, and what we can provide as life coaches, and maybe speak on the difference between the two, like for someone who's wondering?
Absolutely. So as therapists, it's more long-term. You heard me talk a lot about the past, a lot about childhood. It's mental health. It really is mental health. And, understanding how this, like, why did this happen? You know what I mean? It's really pathologized. Like, I can diagnose you, I can tell you based off of your symptoms, this, da, 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 whatever, right? That's therapy. It's really, it, it can be short term, it can be long term. It mostly is long term though, and depending on what kind of therapy you get, right? If you do psychoanalysis, that can be years of therapy, of going into childhood and all these different things. Whereas life coaching, and I'm not going to say it's short term, but it's more short term than therapy typically is, right? Because you're focused on where we met right now and where you want to go in the future. Not so much, yes, this stuff impacts us, this stuff from our past impacts us, but where are you trying to go? What goals are you trying to achieve? It's more goal directed and oriented. It's really specifically focused, whereas therapy is too, but it's more pathologized. Does that make sense? I'm labeling you, I'm putting a label on what you're experiencing, and we're working through it basically. In life coaching, you are identifying it, you are putting a label on it, but it's future directed, it's future oriented, whereas therapy incorporates everything, because there's so many different types of therapy as well, you know what I mean? And life coaching has been proven to be effective, scientifically proven to be effective. So one of the things is, in psychology, they need to be like standardized measures, and needs to be proven over and over and over again in order for it to be effective in therapy. Life coaching has gone through that, and it is something that is proven to be effective. Now, with the whole people just wanting money, life coaching is also, I'm going to be clear, it's an unregulated field. Whereas psychology, I have ethics that I need to abide by. I have a governing board that I need to report to. If I do anything wrong, if anything, my license can be taken. It requires a credential. It requires a lot of responsibility, education, training, blah, blah, blah. Whereas life coaching, there's no regulating board. There's nobody that you can have a certification through a company and they have insurance and things of that nature, but a responsible life coach, whether they have the degrees or not, is going to be able to help you to reach your goals in the end. You know what I mean? And so, there's also, I would say, more hands-on support in life coaching versus therapy. You come to my office once or twice a month, you know what I mean? Depending on what the insurances allow, right? And depending on what the need is, what our treatment plan is, all these things. With life coaching, if needed, bro, I can call you up and you can meet me at the 7-Eleven because I'm having a hard time with my social anxiety going inside. I can't do that as a therapist. You know what I mean? So there's way more support, I would say, with life coaching than there would be with therapy. And don't get me wrong, because we're there, if you call the therapist, they can reply, they can do these things, but it's not as hands-on. The boundaries are very, very firm and rigid within therapy. Life coaching, not so much. Which boundaries is also an important piece to your self-progression, being able to say no and say, no, I'm worth my investment or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's kind of it. I'm looking at my notes here. Let me see if there's more. And also, can I also say that we as therapists do refer to life coaches when there's mental health issues are not on the grand scale of things, when they're not so extreme to dealing with severe mental health issues. If it's a lower grade and you have things and goals that you want to achieve, I might refer you out to go see a life coach, because you're going to get more of the support that you need versus you coming in every 2 weeks where I'm able to give you what you need. Does that make sense? Did that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I love asking that question, like radically honestly, because I'm not here to just, say that I'm like the most grandiose, person, and I'm like a guru or the expert of whatever. Like I am a real woman who has gone through the shit, just like you, just like everybody who's listening. And I took the steps. And then it's important with kind of piggybacking on what you were saying about the life coaching industry. It's important because it is an unregulated field and anybody can basically, label themselves a life coach and charge money. It's important that you really look at what this person is saying and their approach, and then their education, right? So is it somebody who just decided that they're going to help people, or is it somebody who actually like went to school, has the education, has the information? And go ahead.
And no, I was just gonna say, and the skills, because it's a skill set. You are helping me to achieve my goals. We're working on activities. We're doing things. You know what I mean? It's not just willy-nilly pull something out of my butt and let's go. No, there's a structure to it. And you working as a life coach, just like in therapy, you individualize your treatment for your person. You make it because this is their life. We need to cater it around their life. You know what I mean? And so the thing, yeah, with the life coaching, do you know what you're talking about, bro? Like, or are you just the support? Like, then call yourself what it is. But it's a difficult thing because it is an unregulated field. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to have that connection. Do you feel comfortable disclosing the deep, dark, personal, honest truths with your coach or not? You know what I mean? Because anybody can just quit their job and say, I'm a life coach now, but what are you helping me? Like, that's the real thing. Now, another thing with that is if anybody just quits their job, guess what? All your childhood stuff comes with you. Have you gotten that shit in check before you try to help these people? Right?
Yeah.
Because all of that comes into play too.
Ethically,
like, you got to be okay in order to be able to help other people. You know what I mean? Just like on the flight, you put your mask on first before you help other people with their mask. You got to be okay as a healer, as a therapist, as a life coach, as a counselor, as whatever, before you can help other people. Like, that's necessity. Do you feel that when you had your telephone consultation with this life coach? Like, did you feel that? You earlier also you talked about intuition. 9 times out of 10, ladies, our gut intuition is right. Listen to it. 9 times out of 10. So if you have that initial, and it should be a free consultation, by the way, with the life coach, the first one. So your initial 30-minute consultation, whatever, what did you feel? Listen to that. You got to listen to that. What does your gut say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said. I love when you mentioned that the healer also needs healing. And I think that it's so important to make sure that whoever you decide to receive guidance from, that they're walking the talk, right? That they're actually, if they say that I've gone through this, I've overcome this, and then in their life, their life is all full of shit, then no, right? But if they're actually like daily working on themselves and they have their own coaches and their own mentors. I love coaches. I have worked with probably 4 or 5 different coaches for all my different goals, right? Because there's so many different types of coaches as well, and they focus on different types of goals. So I am so grateful to each one of my coaches, right? And I make sure that they are living the what they're saying, right? And I am so proud of myself of how far I have come and all the things, all the amount of money, time, and energy that I've invested in my personal growth, because without all the coaches and the things, the programs that I have paid for, because there's also the education part of it. There's teachers online who are teaching like the self-help tools, and that's actually what I'm moving towards doing a little more of as well, because I had like a waiting list of clients who want to work with me like privately and receive my one-on-one attention. But then I started realizing I want to help more people. I want to reach more people. So they started actually telling me to please like record programs for them where I'm teaching the tools that I've learned in school. Went to the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. So it's a whole holistic school, and there's a lot of I studied spiritual psychology, so there's so much spirituality into it, and like I was saying, the mind, body, soul approach where we see ourselves as a whole person. And so I teach a lot of those concepts, right? And now I'm moving more into like the education field and providing programs where people just follow along on video, and then they learn from the, like you were saying, the activities, the tools, the skills that you need in order to place boundaries with people, to discover who you are, believe in yourself, all those things. So I love this work. I love every single one of my teachers and coaches that I have had. I also love what you do. I've been to therapy as well, and I know that without having gone to therapy, I also wouldn't be where I am today. So I feel like for the person listening right now, it's a mixture of things, right? It's not just a one size fits all. There, you have to do kind of like what Brenda was saying. You have to do what feels right. You have to follow your intuition. And if it is a mixture of one person and another person, and you learn from this over here in a book and a program and everything, whatever it takes, you're worthy of it. We're a whole person, and you're worthy of getting the help you need. You're worthy of investing in yourself, not only money, but also time and energy, right? It's an investment that we have to choose. And you are your best, like you're going to live with yourself for the rest of your life. So why not value yourself and invest in yourself in whatever that is, right? Would you say?
100%. Yes, girl. Like you hit the nail right on the head. 100%. Nobody else has to live your life. You know what I mean? People can criticize all day, every day, but nobody has to live the life that you live. Nobody feels what you feel. Nobody's been through what you've been through, and nobody processes it the way that you process it. So that's an important piece too. Like, this is your life ultimately. How are you going to live it? Do you give yourself permission to live it the way that you need to live it, to live your best life? Quality of life is important. Your overall quality of life is important. And if something is not there, you got to figure out what it is or what's lacking. And you're right, it's a body, mind, spirit, everything. Biopsychosocial is what it's called in psychology. And
What is it?
biological. Biological, psychological, and social. So it's the biological, our physiology. What did we inherit from our parents? Our genetics, right? The psychological, the mind. What are we thinking, right? And the social. Who are we around? What's our environment? What world do we live in, right? Analyzing all of that. That's an important piece. I didn't talk much about my faith and spirituality, but that is my foundation as to why I am who I am and where I am, where I'm at. Without my faith in God, I would not be here. I guarantee you. There'd be drug addiction. There'd be all kinds of stuff. Who knows? Maybe I would have been a stripper, maybe even a porn star. You know what I mean? And that's the God honest truth. But because of my faith, because of where I'm grounded, that has kept me, you know what I mean? And it also encourages me to be better in times of when I'm not good. You know what I mean? Because life happens, grief happens. I lose people, things. I don't meet goals. You know what I mean? It's life happens. So for me, I love that you talked about that, and I love that your education is in that, because it's an important aspect, and it doesn't necessarily need to be God for you. It can be something spiritual. What is your higher power? What is something that, if you even have one, you know what I mean? So that's an important piece too. But yeah.
Yeah, I like to look at it as like some clients like to refer it to, it's your higher self, it's your future self, you're the future version of you, maybe 10 years from now. And that can even be your guiding force, right? If you don't resonate with the term God or the universe or angels, it's like something outside of you. It can also be within you, right? When we have everything, if you want to look at it that way, like we have everything we need inside of ourselves.
Yes.
And I love connecting with my higher self, like my future version of me, because she freaking guides me. She tells me what to do. She tells me, go on this podcast with Brenda and publish this post or say this to this person. Like, she's literally the one speaking through me. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like the person that you're listening to right now on this podcast or seeing this person on YouTube, she isn't me. Like, she's a future version of me, and I had to step into her power in order to show up today. Because if I was still like in my inner child, I'd be scared out of my mind, running away. Like, I'd be like, Brenda, let's cancel. I don't want to do this. I'm too scared. But I literally have to step into that future version of me in order to connect to my bigger and higher purpose here on earth. So I don't know if that resonates with some of you, but it
Girl,
does.
Yes. And let me just say, because you've been gloating on me this whole time, I am so proud of you. You're right. I was there a year ago, and this was an idea, and now it's brought into fruition. Like, so the fact that you're listening to your future self, go ahead, girl. Thank you, because we need it and we love it. You know what I mean? You have grown tremendously, and you are in a constant state of progression, and it's clear and it's visible, and you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk. And that is such a beautiful thing. I don't think anybody can grow or learn from somebody that they're not seeing they're doing it too. You know what I mean? You got to be real, and you're very real. And I appreciate you being honest with your struggles and everything that you've been through. And I can't thank you enough for going to get the education and doing what you're doing to be able to help these women, because it's necessary. It's necessary, especially in the society that we live in right now. So misogynistic, all these different things. Like, it's so necessary, because I'm low key, I'm a feminist, and I believe it. You know what I mean? Like, so we need this. We need this. I think as women, we've just been kind of torn down and told what we needed to be. And no, that's not the case, bruh. Like, you're a unique individual. You're imperfectly beautiful and vibrant and just the way that you need to be to do what you got to do in life. And even if you don't know what that is, just being your authentic self is enough. You know what I mean? That's it.
That's beautiful, Brenda. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with today that you need to mention? Like, you have to mention it.
I do, actually, because I realized, like, I've just been talking blah, 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 but here's some questions that you got to ask yourself. Like, here are some tips for you guys, right? Boundaries are really important. Being able to say no, no matter how bad we feel about it, because self-preservation is important. You are worth investing in yourself. Okay. And then don't judge. A lot of times we judge, right? We're thinking this, oh, blah, blah, blah. Don't judge it. Accept yourself without judgment. You have to, because the whole world's going to judge you. And like you said, we are our own worst critics. So we know we have the capability to judge ourselves, but try not to. Try not to. Try to accept yourself. Positive talk. Positive talk is super important. These are things that these are how you're going to challenge those negative thoughts. These are how you're going to challenge those cognitive distortions, those unhelpful thinking skills, right? Going back with the attitude of gratitude. This positivity thing works, guys. I promise you it works. So positive self-talk, when you say, oh, damn, I didn't do that. What's a positive way of saying that? I'll get to that tomorrow. I'll get to that later. You don't have to be so hard on yourself. So try to change your talk to be more positive. Baby steps. You just have to start. You just have to start. And that goes back with the judging, right? Don't go back to judging. Oh, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Take baby steps. You can only do what you can do. You got to celebrate the small things. Bro, if you reached out to somebody, do you know how significant that is? Go buy yourself an ice cream. Go get yourself a balloon. Celebrate the fact that you did it. You know what I mean? That's an important thing. We don't do that enough in our world. Celebrate the small things. Oh, you were able to achieve a goal that you thought you weren't able to? Kudos to you. You need to celebrate it. You know what I mean? And then ask yourself, like, what do I need? What do I need right now? If there's ever a challenging situation, these are questions you need to ask yourself, whether out loud or internally. What do I need? Is that true? Did that really happen? Has there ever been a time that didn't happen? Look for the exceptions. You know what I mean? Start having these positive dialogues with yourself. Start challenging your thoughts. Don't always believe what you think. Don't always believe what you think. And I think that was it for me right now.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so, so much for this time out of your day. I'm so appreciative and just honored to have had you on this podcast. It's such a treat. I know that our listeners are going to take away so much from this conversation, and maybe in the future we can do more of this together. Yeah. We will definitely update you guys on that because we are, like, I know you're a very busy woman. And
I got it, girl. Let me know when. We'll schedule it. We'll do this.
Yeah, I just love this so much. And where I would love to leave our listeners with, where can they find you? Where can they learn more about you? Follow your work? Do you have some social media handles?
Social media? What's that? No, I'm kidding. I'm on pretty much the major platforms. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I'm more active on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter than I am YouTube, but I'll get there. You can find me by just putting in my name, Brenda, Brenda Carrillo, Carrillo. My Instagram is at Dr. Carrillo, so RRL. Facebook, just Brenda Carrillo. I should pop up. Twitter, I'm at Dr. Brenda CA1. So at Dr. Brenda CA1.
And is it doctor, like all written out, DOCTO?
Yes. Yeah, Dr. DOCTORCARRILLO.
Awesome. Yeah. On Instagram and Twitter, so Dr. Carrillo 1.
So Instagram is just Dr. Carrillo, and then Twitter is at Dr. Carrillo, Dr. Brenda CA1.
Got it. Okay. And I'll make sure that I link all of this in the show notes, so that you guys can just go and copy and paste and go find her, because she has so much knowledge and so much to share with you guys. Yeah.
Melissa, thank you again. Like, I really can't thank you enough. I was nervous, I was anxious, even though you're like, it's just a casual conversation. And that goes back to, just wanting to make sure I provide good information and be a help to you guys. You know what I mean? And so I just thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for reaching out to me. This is my life goal, is to help educate people and give people tools that they need. So thank you for allowing me to do that through your avenue. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was such an honor, and I'll be sure to connect with you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.